Almost there. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the regular episode of the Shower Podcast, number 248, the podcast where I'm in my shower and you do you. I'm your host, Chip, and today I want to talk about something that has been weighing on me a lot lately. And by a lot, I mean today, but it did in great quantity. The weight of transitions. How often do we lose focus? Not because of the work itself, but because our brains get stuck on switching from one thing to the next. Before we start, as usual, if you end up liking this episode, remember that liking and subscribing to the channel really mean a lot. They're just one click, but they really make the difference for me. Thank you very much for considering it. So, let's start, shall we? After the special episode of today morning, I had to juggle between sports, work, the episode of today, and this constant thinking about the game. And the tricky part is exactly this. When I'm at home, it's not the work itself that slows me down. It's the in-between. My mind starts spinning on questions like, how do I wrap this up? How do I start the other thing? Do I need a break? And suddenly, the actual tasks feels heavier than it should. The irony is that none of these transitions are actually hard. They're small, but once you start thinking about them too much, they become mountains instead of doorways. See them as lying shadows pulling you away. If you've seen the thumbnail, you know what I mean. And here's where I realized something strange. Last weekend, I was away, packed schedule, running around the city from one place to another. Activities stacked on activities. Zero time to think about these transitions. And guess what? It felt lighter. How? Because the environment forced me forward. Change was automatic. Different place, different people, different context. I didn't stop to plan how to switch modes. I just did. But at home, when the scenery never changes, my brain turns transitions into problems instead of letting them happen naturally. Turns out, there's actual science behind this. Psychologists talk about switch cost. Every time we shift tasks, the brain takes a hit. Studies suggest it can take up to 23 minutes to fully regain focus after switching. 23 minutes! And we wonder why working from home feels exhausting at times. It's not just the task, it's the constant anticipation of switching. Our brains waste energy rehearsing the move instead of doing the actual thing. The anticipation is the real weight. And there's another layer. Linda Stone coined the term continuous partial attention. Basically, when we're half focused on the task and half focused on what's next, we're never really present. That's what happens during transitions at home. I'll be writing, but my brain is already rehearsing the switch to chores or editing. And in that split attention, nothing feels smooth. Compare that to being outside, doing sports, where transitions are automatic. Your mind doesn't have time to hover. You just move because the context tells you it's time. I notice mostly after work. Laptop closes, and instead of just starting dinner, I sit there thinking about the switch. Should I tidy first? Should I change clothes? Should I rest? And suddenly, 30 minutes are gone, and I'm more tired than before. It's wild because cooking dinner itself takes maybe half an hour, but I've already drained myself in this pre-transition moment. And that's when I realized the friction isn't in the activity, it's in my head, in the way I frame it, the in-between. Experts call this attention management. They say our brains need physical or temporal cues to reset. That's why routines matter. A walk around the block, moving to the new room, even changing the lighting. It tells your brain, hey, we're doing something new here. It's time to move on. And it makes sense. On my weekend away, the cue was built in. New place, new activity, no choice. At home, I don't have that cue. So my brain fills the gap with overthinking instead of movement. So now I'm asking myself, how do I make transitions less about thinking and more about doing? Because there's the trap. I confuse preparing to switch with actually switching. And the more I prepare, the heavier it feels. Maybe the real skill isn't about optimizing transitions, but making them invisible again, the way they naturally are when you're out in the world, following the flow. And that's where I think small rituals, small signals could make all the difference. So, what do those rituals look like? They don't have to be dramatic. I'm not talking about ice baths or 10-step routines. I mean simple, almost invisible things that tell your brain, chapter closed, new one open. For me, that could be starting a specific song when I start writing, or putting on sneakers when I switch from work to exercise. These aren't complicated tasks, they're cues. And the more automatic you make them, the less your brain will try to invent extra friction where it doesn't belong. So here's a practice I've been trying. Shrinking the transition. Instead of giving myself a 30-minute debate on how to move from task A to task B, I give myself a micro step. One action. Close the laptop, stand up. That's it. Once you stand, the next thing follows naturally, especially if your routine is well established. The smaller the doorway, the easier it is to walk through. And the truth is, transitions only weigh as much as you let them. If you shrink them, they stop being walls and they start being nudges. There's also research on this from Charles Duhigg, Habit Loop. Habits are built on cue, routine, reward. The cue triggers the routine and the reward locks it in. If you treat transitions as mini habits, you can trick your brain into consistency. For instance, finishing work, cue is shutting down the computer. Routine is putting on music. The reward is feeling the freedom of cooking dinner, playing games, going out, whatever you want. It's not about willpower, it's about design. That design makes the in-between lighter because your brain already knows the path. So finally, I believe that that's the trap so many of us fall into. We overthink the in-between. We give transitions a weight they were never supposed to carry. Instead of letting them be automatic, like blinking, breathing, we shine a spotlight on them. And once you shine that spotlight, it's hard to unsee it. Suddenly, you're performing your transition instead of living them. And honestly, I don't want that. I want my energy on activities, on the joy of doing things, not on rehearsing how to start. So that's where I landed today. The transition isn't the problem. My mind is. And the more I think about it, the clearer it gets. I just need to stop trying to optimize the in-between and just let it happen. I know we discussed a lot this topic in the recent episodes, and you will find variations of this already in the past, but I really believe there is value in understanding what is happening around you and finding a way to describe it. For me, of course, is the Shower Podcast, and I'm very happy that you are listening along. But I'm sure that a variation of this story or something actually very similar to this happens to you every single day. So here's my challenge for you. Pay attention to your transitions. Notice when you're overthinking. Then try shrinking them. One cue, one small ritual, one automatic step. Don't let the doorway feel heavier than the room itself. And if you found a ritual that kills the friction, share it in the comments. Let us know how you handle these transitions and what just works for you. Having said that, that was all for today. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that this bit of a longer episode, I tried to research a bit more stuff into it just to, let's say, make up for the double episode. But yeah, as usual, if you ended up liking this episode, remember that liking and subscribing really mean a lot. And as usual, stay consistent, stay resilient. This was the Shower Podcast, and I'll see you tomorrow.